What's up, guys? It's your boy P. Fitz's Robin, coming straight from his mom's basement. From the RTV group, here at the No One Gets Over podcast. As always, I'm here, you're here, let's do this. So, we're going to do the Raw and SmackDown review today. Exciting Raw. It actually was on my birthday this year, so it was kind of a nice treat that I got to sit back and watch it and write something up for you guys and plan my notes out for this. So it was quite a good little surprise on my birthday. I didn't even realize it was until I typed in the date. So basically, what a week. Don't know what we're doing in WWE anymore. Don't know how much is driven by the writers or Vince, or if Vince lost his mind. But basically, if you guys been following social media, Roman put out a tweet saying he had some unfinished business on Raw this week and he's gonna show up. WWE officials told him no, he ain't. Big Dog don't listen to anyone. He's gonna show up no matter what. And we kick off Raw with Roman Reigns coming out, and Vince comes out too as well. We have Daniel Bryan in the ring all at the same time, and Kofi Kingston, and Vince announces that there's going to be a new rule in WWE, the wild card rule. The wild card rule. I don't know, guys. Maybe you watch an episode of It's Always Sunny. Heard Charlie talk about how he's a wild card. But basically what's going to happen from now on is there's going to be a certain limited number of stars from each show being able or invited to the other show, almost like a cross promotion. I have a feeling this is just going to end up terribly and that there's going to be no more brand split. Pretty much there isn't a brand split. The way Superstar Shakeup's going, we're getting guys flopping shit left and right. But basically what ends up happening is that Roman wants a rematch with Drew McIntyre, and it's announced that will happen tonight, as well as a rematch from Kofi versus Daniel Bryan. So we're getting 2 WrestleMania rematches. One's for the WWE Championship. It's kind of odd that both stars are on SmackDown, and they wouldn't just do this match on SmackDown. But, yeah. We're going to kick it off. And I guess it was one way for Raw to kick off with a bang. I don't really think it was. I'm sure Vince thinks this is going to cause a lot of ratings to come up, but I don't think so. I don't think this is going to cause ratings to go up. I think this is kind of, hopefully, he's hoping for a one-time type deal. But, Vince knows best, I guess. After those 4 superstars leave the ring, AJ Styles comes and appears, and I guess he's going to be the 3rd member from SmackDown to be appearing. Vince said that there was a rule that was going to be limited to 3 superstars. In theory, it's kind of a good idea. With the upcoming Fox deal, we're going to have 2 competing networks fighting for superstars. I like the idea that a superstar can kind of move over if a feud ensues, which kind of has always been the case. I mean, look at Becky when she fought Ronda. But, this is kind of weird that we're getting 2 SmackDown competitors and then a WWE Championship match on Raw when the main title is the Universal title. But AJ comes out and basically tells Vince that it's convenient that all of a sudden AJ leaves the house that he built on SmackDown, and now they're able to jump ship. Basically, he came to Raw to accomplish more than he had, and he felt that he could have done it. And the fact that now Seth is joined by his best friend Roman Reigns, AJ teases that maybe he'll go to SmackDown with some of his friends. We know the club now is on Raw, and if they really brought into that feud, I think that would have been good if the club and AJ teamed up finally again, and they were by ringside, and then Roman joins Seth by ringside. Okay, that makes sense for Roman to be there, but the fact that he's going to have a rematch with Drew, and AJ's bringing this up, and it's not even going to be anything that happens in the show, I don't know. Kind of terrible writing. But Vince basically says that there's going to be a match tonight because Seth Rollins comes out and starts chirping at AJ, and AJ starts chirping. They brawl in the ring, or they're about to, and Vince stops and says, "There's going to be a match tonight: AJ and Seth versus an undisclosed tag team," and that match is happening next. Lo and behold, the undisclosed tag team is Bobby Lashley and Baron Corbin. Writings on the wall. They're really the two biggest heels right now, besides Drew, on the red brand, and a pretty good match. I mean, you have Seth and AJ teaming up. You have AJ kind of being a tweener. People are cheering for him, but he's being the heel in this feud against Seth. Pretty good match. I liked it. If you didn't read the write-up, that will really go into more detail of what happened in the match. But the match ends because Seth hits a super kick on Lashley, I believe. On Corbin, and AJ sets up for a phenomenal forearm. Corbin evades, and he ends up hitting Seth now twice with a phenomenal forearm. AJ ends up just walking out of the match after that. He knows that the match is over. Corbin gets the win after he hits an end of days, and gets a pinfall over, Seth Rollins. Big win for Baron Corbin. He gets a pinfall over the Universal Champion. Good for Baron Corbin. I like him. I think he's got a great moveset. I don't really like his look, but I like his character. But he's really playing into this Seth AJ feud, and I like the way it's going. That AJ's trying to somewhat be a competitor, but still be that cool good guy. But that's really just heightened tensions between the two, and it's building up for their feud at Money in the Bank. Right before the commercial break, Sami Zayn makes his way out to the ring. Comes out and he cuts a promo on the crowd and how miserable their lives are. Finally, we get a superstar to intervene, and it's actually Braun. If you remember last year, Sami and Braun, or maybe the year before, Sami and Braun had a nice little feud going, and this is a nice little way to kind of give an ode back to that. I know that Braun may possibly have some heat backstage, which might be why he's in this feud with Sami now, I guess. But basically what happens is Sami tries to flee the ring after not backing up to Braun. He looks like they're going to fight, but he ends up being the chicken shit heel he is. Leaves the ring. Braun follows and actually follows him through the crowd and chases him backstage. The next match we get is the Lucha House Party. Looks like they're going to be making, they're going to have a match against some Joe Bears. But we get a nice backstage shot, and Braun's still looking for Sami. Ends up cornering him into the garage and actually tosses him into the garbage can, or the dumpster, and gets taken away by a garbage truck. Little ode saying that Sami is garbage for the way he's been talking to the fan. Braun is obviously a fan favorite. The six-man tag match between Lucha House Party and the Jobbers is what is expected. They squashed them. I don't really know why that match was even on TV. Obviously, they're trying out some new talent. We've seen a lot of jobbers of late. But it is what it is. We got to see pretty much all the high spots Lucha House Party does. I think they're a great act. I like watching them. I just wish they were used a little bit better. I wish they would drop the whole party gimmick. I think that's not really... It kind of goes back to the Adam Rose and the No Way Jose type thing. Like, it's cool maybe for the little kids, but if you're going to take someone serious and they're just coming out, I mean, they're just trying to recreate what New Day has, but in general, New Day was filled with competitors that everyone seemed to like, but didn't know they liked until they saw them all together, and I don't know if that's happening with Lucha House Party. They all had an interesting backstory in the New Day, and we don't really get to see that in Lucha House Party. We end up getting Ricochet versus Robert Roode. Robert Roode, pretty much before the show started, I think he posted an interview. There was an interview posted on social media. He says he got a pinfall over Ricochet. He should be in that Money in the Bank ladder match, and not Ricochet. But pretty good match. Ricochet ends up getting the win. The match is for the spot in the Money in the Bank, which was no surprise. We finally get to see a 630 splash again from Ricochet. Looks great. I mean, they're definitely going to do a 630 splash spot off the top of the ladder. That's why he's in the match. I don't think he's going to win the Money in the Bank match, but who knows? He might. But it's going to be an interesting match. During this match, we actually get a vignette backstage, or kind of a segment backstage, between Natalya, Naomi, and Dana Brooke. They've all been given invitations to join Lacey Evans at ringside for her match. None of them really want to be there. They have been told to bring their ring gear. I mean, I see that they're trying to build this tension and try to really paint Lacey as a heel, and I think she's doing a good job, but this wasn't really needed. It's kind of odd. I mean, they're really just crapping on her and shitting on her about using a peach cobbler scent on her invitations. I don't know why they had such a bad problem with that. If anything, I would have said, why couldn't, they should have gone to the point that, why couldn't she come and tell them herself? Why did she give invitations? And then maybe didn't know, like, this isn't 1960 anymore. Since she is supposed to be that classic pinup girl and been morphed into the sassy Southern Belle, I don't really know how many people still send out invitations, handwritten invitations for someone to come join them at ringside. He's also announced that tonight we'll get Rey Mysterio versus Samoa Joe, versus Samoa Joe at Money in the Bank for the United States title match, or for the United States title. At the same time, we see Rey backstage. He's talking to his son Dominic, and he ends up going into the locker room. And right after Rey leaves the locker room, Dominic turns around, goes to walk away, and you see Joe pretty much stalking him. Joe ends up cornering him and says, if I was you, I would be embarrassed of the beating that I gave your dad. And he gives a little shout out to Eddie Guerrero and calls him his Uncle Eddie. The last time that Dominic was in WWE. If you guys don't remember, it was a great feud. I believe it was in 2003 or 4. But basically, they're fighting for who the real father of Dominic is. Really, really painted Eddie as a heel. And some of his best work. The storyline was real screwed up. But I enjoyed it. I was a younger guy back then, and it was fun for me to watch. Eddie has always been one of my favorites, and Rey has always been that top 10 for me. So seeing them do anything was magic. But we end up getting the Lacey Evans match next. After the match, she was in the ring, and Naomi comes out, followed by Dana Brooke and Natalya. Dana Brooke looked like she just raided Liv Morgan's wardrobe. I mean, she's wearing the checkerboard top, white pants. Better look for her than what she's normally seen wearing, but none of them are wearing their ring gear. And Alexa Bliss actually joined them too, so apparently Alexa got this invitation, but she wasn't seen on camera. Lacey pretty much tells the girls that if any of you win this Money in the Bank match, don't even think about cashing in on her after she beats Becky, because she's just going to decimate them with a woman's right. And as she's talking, Becky comes out. Becky drops both belts before she gets in the ring and starts attacking Lacey. The crowd goes nuts. Becky's still over, like we're over. I don't know why they think that her, stardom is being in question, but it's fucking great. Backstage, we see Daniel Bryan. He tells the WWE Universe that he's the right role model for the planet. He's a planet champion, not the pancake throwing Kofi Kingston. It's also announced that NXT TakeOver, the next TakeOver on June 1st, that, we've been hearing about rumors, but it's going to be in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Again, I'm from Connecticut. I'm going to go to this match. You guys are going to get a reaction from it from me and Colt Davidson. Really excited. Tickets go on sale on this Friday. If you're in this area and you haven't picked a ticket, this is going to be a big thing. It's the 25th takeover that they've done, and it's in Bridgeport. First time it's in Bridgeport. I think it's also the first time that a televised event will be in Bridgeport since 2012. Basically, Daniel Bryan's telling, the WWE Universe that he's the rightful Planet Champion, that he should be that WWE Champion, not Kofi, that he's not a real champion and he's not a good role model. Pretty good promo by Daniel Bryan. The guy's money. Say what you want about him. Some people don't think he's entertaining anymore. He's doing everything he should. He's a good heel. I like him as a heel better than a face, to be honest. He really has turned the crowd against him, which is hard to do. But every one of his matches is so much fun to watch. We also get Viking Raiders versus Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. This is a non-title match. And the Viking Raiders just decimate the WWE Raw Tag Team Champions. Ends in a Viking experience. to Zack Ryder. They're bearing their title right now. I mean, Ryder and Hawkins, granted the crowd wasn't as excited for them, but the reason why people aren't getting excited for them is because WWE hasn't done anything to make us excited for them. They lose every time we see them, where they almost lose, and they don't win in a good fashion. I mean, they're not heels, and they should be winning clean, or at least, you know, having that underdog feel, but they don't. I mean, they're the champions. They should be the top dog. But Vince knows best. I mean, it's wild card weekend, I guess, or wild card week. We also get the newest episode of Firefly Funhouse, and man, this is the one thing they're doing right, and I hope Bray is the reason. I think he's the reason why. But it starts off with Mercy the Buzzard. He's chewing on something. It looks like a pillow. It looks like it's a stuffed animal. Bray asks him what he's doing. He tells him pretty much to F off. And then Bray sticks his hand in there and pulls out what's left of Ramblin' Rabbit. And Mercy tells him that Ramblin' Rabbit was trying to make him adhere to his bohemian lifestyle. Tells Abby that she's an old hag. Says, damn. Good. I like it. Bring back TV-14. It's what wrestling needs, what WWE needs. You know, I don't need to see all the old BS that they used to do with the women, but bring a little edge back to it. It's kind of funny now. This is kind of not about Raw, but in general, if you look back at what WWE was doing in the early 90s, they've pretty much been in that lull right now, where they're trying to be this kid-friendly TV show, this family-friendly show. The product's kind of stale, and with the up-and-coming threat of WCW gaining momentum, being that edgier show, WWE was calling their heels. You know, if you don't know the story about 83 weeks, Monday Night Nitro beat Raw 83 weeks in a row in ratings, and basically because they were appealing to the demographic of 14 to 20-something-year-olds. The average number of fans that are dedicated fans are not kids in WWE. They're guys my age, older. They grew up in the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era. Those are your diehard fans. Those are the guys that watch in every pay-per-view. Those are the guys watching every week. And this Bray Firefly Funhouse, as kooky as it is, has got a nice feel to it. It's kind of bringing back to that. And I think that Vince kind of sees AEW. I think he's definitely nervous about it. He doesn't want another ratings war with another company like he had in WCW. So I think he's trying to get at least some upper foot on it and kind of leaving that door open too. We can still be edgy and still be family friendly, and if more things were written like this, it would really go a long way for WWE. I think their ratings would jump a lot more than this stupid wild card rule. That seems like a band-aid on, you know, basically putting your finger over a leaky pipe, but the moment that you lift that finger up, it's still going to leak, so why not just fix the pipe the first time? Seth addresses AJ, saying that, you know, he set the line between them, and when he walked out on them, you know, that was a bad move by him. It pretty much cemented that AJ's going to be the heel in this. I really like Seth as a heel, but that Burn It Down is unreal. The crowd loves him, and for all reasons, this is going to be the show-stopping match, and I think this is going to be a match that people talk about for a long time. You have two of the very best at the top of their game right now. AJ being a little older, some people may think he's past his prime or he's already peaked, but I think he has a lot to give us. He's been in the business for a long time, and he can really do still a lot of good work. And we'll really get to see some of his mic skills more than we didn't really get to see in TNA, and I think he's playing everything right. I think he has a little more freedom than people think. Cause some of the stuff he says, he hints a lot to the club. I know he doesn't want Gallows and Anderson to leave. I think they're already out the door. I think that they're not going to re-sign. But, I mean, I just hope, I would have really hoped before Ambrose left that we would have got Shield versus the club. I think that would have been the best last Shield match. I think that would have been great, especially since it was a televised event, but it wasn't on a show. That's when you could really have just two faces at the time, factions, and go at each other and just put on a real good match as Dean's last match. I think that it would have been a lot more fun for Dean on his way out. But the next match we get is Drew and Reigns. Reigns ends up getting the upper hand. He ends up getting hit with an Alabama Slam from Drew McIntyre, right on the edge of the apron, and as you guys know, it's the hardest part of the ring. And man, that looked vicious. A little ode to Bob Holly, Hardcore Holly. Drew, man, he really showed his strength. At one point, he deadlifted suplexed Roman Reigns, who is not a light competitor, and this guy should be pushed to the moon, and I hope that they're taking their time with him, because they know right now wouldn't be the ideal situation with the way the company's going, the ratings. He's one of those guys that can help boost ratings if used correctly, and I love him as a heel. I don't think his feud should be with Reigns, though. It should have been against Seth Rollins or someone like that. During the middle of the match, though, Reigns gets a close 2 count and ends up hitting a spear right afterwards. But Shane actually comes out and attacks Reigns. You know, they're having this feud on SmackDown, and Elias comes out, and Elias and Shane end up attacking Reigns, and The Miz comes in to save him. So, you know, The Miz, of course, is on Raw. Shane and Elias are on SmackDown. So now we have 5 SmackDown competitors that have now appeared on it. I guess Shane doesn't really count, as he is family and his father does own the business. But Elias definitely is not family, and he would be a 4th competitor. Drew ends up hitting a Claymore as Elias is holding him. Reigns is left in the ring. Shane has fled as Miz is chasing him. We get backstage. Charlie Caruso ends up trying to interview Shane, and he just basically tells her to F off, walks down the stairs, goes out to the limo, and Miz hits him with a steel chair. Really good segment. I know Miz is trying. I'm high on Miz. I like what he's doing. I know he could really be the next Cena. I know they want Reigns to be, but it's really Miz. He has the fan base. He's been there long enough. He's doing so much outside of WWE that he is a caliber star like Cena compared to Reigns at this moment, who may not be. But Miz ends up getting hit in the grapefruits by Shane, and Shane makes his way out. We go to commercial break. We come back. We get the Revival versus the Club. Exciting match, right? No. The Usos come out and they tell the Revival that they put some Uso cream, which is like icy hot, in their trunks. They're going crazy. They're rubbing everywhere. They're trying to get it off them. Usos tell them they got some water for it. Both members of Revival take the water, dump it down their pants. The Usos tell them, you know, man, the water's for you to drink. This stuff's water activated. It's activated by sweat. They start, you know, flopping around on the floor. They're begging the Revival, but whatever, it's a paycheck for them. I think that they're going to be gone. I don't think they're going to re-sign. So, you know, we don't get to see the Club. They're on TV somewhat. They're just collecting the paycheck at this point. We get No Way Jose and his conga line that comes out next. And lo and behold, Lars Sullivan decimates all of them. So now we have 5 competitors. So let's go ahead and count them. We have Daniel Bryan, Kofi Kingston, Roman Reigns, Elias, and now Lars Sullivan. 5 competitors, not including Shane, that have appeared on Raw. Started off with 3. After the match, Lars enters Vince's office. He's talking about hyping up this new wildcard rule, how he's a genius. And he goes, yeah, it's going to be 3 competitors. And then Lars walks in and he looks at Lars. Lars looks at him. And Lars convinces him by not saying one word that it should be 4. So I guess they're not counting Elias. But new wildcard rule. You're going to have 4 competitors from SmackDown that can come to Raw. 4 competitors from Raw that can come to SmackDown. I don't know what happened to the brand split, but it looks like it's gone. The main event comes when we get Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston. 2 SmackDown competitors, main eventing Raw. Great match. We can see Daniel Bryan after his hiatus. Doesn't look like he lost a step. Kofi gets the win. Raw ends with Kofi holding WWE Championship in the ring. Crowd goes nuts. Awesome match. These 2 guys really stepping up. Kofi's really stepping up. I know that he's been in WWE for 11 years. He's always been a good competitor. He's always been on that cusp of being in these big, high-profile matches as far as being a Money in the Bank competitor. Always has a good outing in the Royal Rumble. But he really has taken this, and the crowd is behind him still. And I think he's doing a great job as champion. He's doing everything he needs to. He just competed on Raw for defending the title against Daniel Bryan. He had no reason to even go to Raw. He didn't need to. Right? I mean, he only came because he said, my buddy Roman came. I mean, what? You're WWE champion. You don't need to do anything you don't want to do. But, great match. I suggest anyone that did not see that match, try to YouTube it, find it somewhere on the interwebs. You know, again, I don't know what WWE's doing, guys. I know some guys in the RTV group didn't even watch it. I don't blame them. This is nothing that you guys really miss. But story-wise, nothing you guys missed. Didn't do anything for Money in the Bank, I don't really believe, except for the fact that we got a little bit of the feud build for Shane and Miz, and then we got announced that we're going to have a United States title match, and a little bit of the storyline added to the Universal title match, but we already kind of knew that AJ was going to be the heel since he did phenomenal forearm Seth through the table. But it is what it is. So we're going to move on to the next night, Tuesday night, SmackDown. AJ kicks it off. He says he's utilizing the wild card rule. He wants to be the first competitor, first in line, to go back to the house that AJ Styles built. Sami Zayn comes out. He interrupts AJ. He basically tells the crowd that AJ is egotistical, and Styles tells Sami that he smells like a foot. Remember, Sami was tossed into the dumpster and taken away. Smells like garbage. He also tells, out comes Kofi with Xavier Woods, and Xavier Woods says, if you guys are having a party, you guys invite the New Day. Love Xavier Woods. He's great on the mic. He's very witty. The guy is very smart, undoubtedly. But very witty on the mic. Very underrated promo. With that said, Kofi puts on a great promo as well. Probably the best promo he's ever had. And we end up getting a triple threat main event for the WWE Championship. AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn versus Kofi Kingston. I mean, now Kofi's defended his title 2 nights in a row. But, I mean, he is the definition of a fighting champion. I know that Seth says he's a fighting champion, and I'm not doubting that. I also know Seth has been nursing a back injury for a while. He's been working through it. And I think this is a good move if they're trying to protect Seth a little bit. Kofi seems like he's a guy that probably doesn't get injured all that much. We definitely know he can go. He's in great shape. But this is a great match. Kevin Owens appears backstage. He was supposed to start off SmackDown, but he didn't. He announces that it's his birthday and he's going home for the night. On his way to the ring, we have Andrade. Directly after the iPhone promo shuts off. And we get a nice, as Andrade's coming out, we get another iPhone promo by Mustafa Ali, telling people that they need to follow the light. The match is going to be Mustafa Ali versus Andrade. Great match. Better promo by Mustafa Ali. This really added this third dimension, talking about how his opportunity was taken away from him, ripped away from him, because he got hurt, so that Kofi took the spot. That could have potentially been him that won that, that WWE title, or that won that Elimination Chamber, and he could have won that WWE title, or at least had a match at WrestleMania for it. This was a great match, though. Andrade is a complete package. I think he's a great heel, and Mustafa Ali, I think, is a great face. The crowd definitely likes seeing him wrestle. At one point, he does hit a Spanish fly that looks kind of sketchy, but he hits the Spanish fly against Andrade, and right before he goes to pin him, out of nowhere, Randy Orton hits him with an RKO. Goes to set up Andrade with a between the ropes DDT. Ali interferes, stops him, and both men end up attacking Randy Orton. And it ends with Mustafa Ali running towards Randy Orton. He tosses him up, much like he tossed up Seth, hits the RKO. Andrade's on the top rope, goes to dive on him, hits the midair RKO, and that's how that match ended. It was a it was a disqualification. No winner. Really good way to end it. I mean, Randy's one of those guys that doesn't need to do a whole much in his career. He's already pretty established. We know what we're going to get with him, and we're going to get consistency with Randy. I do like heel Randy. I like when he's chasing. When he's invested, he's invested. I don't know if he's really invested right now in this Money in the Bank, or if he's going through the motions that he normally does. But I think the feud between Randy and Andrade could lead to something great. As last week showed, Andrade pretty much told him, if you want to learn something, just tag me in. And I think that we could kind of go back to that legend killer that Randy was, but in a reverse role where he's a legend and now just killing all the new talent that may be a threat. Almost kind of like what we hear backstage that Cena or Triple H used to do, where they would bury people. Let Randy bury them in the ring. I think that would be pretty cool. Let it be kind of an open type, segments where he's going to Vince or going to Shane, convincing him like, hey man, I've been here for, almost 20 years. Jeez, at this point, almost 20 years, and, I'm a 13-time world champion. This guy, he's nothing. If he's so good, prove it against me. And then he ends up just squashing all of them, and maybe he gets one more title run. I wouldn't be opposed to that if it's done right. But WWE ends up going with a nice highlight of Roman Reigns' career after this, pretty much highlighting his major victories from his time in FC Dub, to NXT, to Main. This really probably should have been played before WrestleMania. They're really playing the comeback that he had after leukemia. Maybe a little too late. Maybe they're seeing that the crowd's really not too hyped about him being back and somewhat in the main title picture. But he's got no one to fight on SmackDown. You come from Raw, you built him up for the last 4 years as a top guy, and he comes to SmackDown, he's just going to decimate through everyone. I don't know. Maybe they're going to plan on putting him on the cover of WWE 2K, which I think is going to happen. I think this was for. There wasn't an advertisement for it, but I think they're kind of building up for that. It's a good story, I guess. Guy battles leukemia again. Comes back, he's on the cover. It is what it is. After this, we get Shane coming out. He says he's going to announce the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Says he was looking all through the list, and there was only one name that really deserved it, and lo and behold, it is Daniel Bryan and Rowan. So now Daniel Bryan and Rowan are the Tag Team Champions. But out comes the Uso. Remember, wild card rule now. They say, this title meant so much that you should have a competitor really get it, not just hand it away. And they bring up the fact that, great tag teams have held this title between the Usos, the Hardys, the New Day, and even Shane and Miz. And that they all competed to win it, and nothing was handed to them. So we get Shane kind of, recants his statement. He says, all right, we're going to have a match. Usos versus Bryan and Rowan. Great match. Usos do not put on a bad match. They really don't. Their pace is so fast, and they really go at every match with their full heart, and you can tell that they really do wear it on their sleeves in the ring, and I think it's really fun to watch, and this was an entertaining match. Bryan and Rowan end up getting the win after an Iron Claw. I would like to see Usos back on SmackDown, or at least in that title picture. Maybe they should have picked a SmackDown tag team title, like Rusev or tag team to fight against Rowan and Daniel Bryan. They kind of wasted this because they could have definitely had someone open challenge. You have one more show before Money in the Bank. They could have really built SmackDown this week and next week just on this tag team division, and it would have been a lot of fun to watch. And what they could have done, since the tag team division is so weak on SmackDown, they could have invited some of these Raw tag teams over there. It would have been a really fun way to have this final match at Money in the Bank and add some validity to the title instead of just handing it to them or having a non-SmackDown team. Really make Bryan and Rowan prove that they deserved it. And let's not forget, Daniel Bryan just came back the night before. They're not really a tag team; they're more of just friends. Rowan was more of just like his bodyguard, but whatever. We get a segment backstage later on that Bryan says that they're now the Planet's tag team champions and they're going to change the belt. They run into Heavy Machinery, who is now sporting a new denim vest, blue collar. Now they actually have a blue collar, which is pretty cool. I believe Tucky, I forget their names. One of them, I think it's Tucky, talks to Otis, and you can't hear anything. It doesn't even look like he's actually talking. He's just moving his mouth. Bryan definitely was turned off by this, and he's just like, what are you saying? Possibly that we're going to have a feud between them, maybe a push for Heavy Machinery. I don't know. I guess they're entertaining to watch. I really haven't seen enough of them to really say, okay, they should be in that title spot. But I'm sure Vince is high on him. He likes these corny gimmicks. But we'll get another episode of Firefly Funhouse. Like I said, Mercy uses the word damn, calls Abby an old hag. Really good vignette. Really need to stick to this kind of formula. If you've been following social media or follow Bray, he announced that in 2015 he did 5 backstage promos, and one sentence out of each promo out of the 5 didn't match the others, and it led to a hidden message that no one has yet to figure out. He's been dropping hints. Pretty cool. So I heard on Going in Raw they were hoping that the Firefly Funhouse was filled with a couple Easter eggs, but I think they said they would hope so, but they don't have any faith in it. I think there is a bunch of Easter eggs in this. I think Bray likes that, and I think he may have hidden these in without necessarily telling creative that these were hidden in there, and I think that would be amazing if they did. But we get Shane back in the ring. He announces the men and women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Before he can announce anything, he says he's got to talk about something. He's got a big announcement about it. Miz attacks him. There we go. We got, I guess, 4 competitors again. The Usos, AJ Styles, and now the Miz have all appeared on SmackDown. Miz ends up attacking Shane, goes to drag him up the ramp. He's stopped by the B team, former members of the Miz Taraj. Miz looks pretty strong. He ends up, knocking them both over. Last night, or the night before on Raw, Shane did say, who hit someone with a steel chair? It's a cowardly move. Ends up hitting Miz with a steel chair. Real hard chair shot, too, to the back. And just to add insult to injury, Shane wipes his brow, sweat right on the Miz's body. We end up getting a backstage interview with Matt Hardy. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me revert. Go backwards here. I skipped a match, a very important match. And we end up getting a big match between Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Ember Moon, and oh jeez, who was Ember Moon's partner? Well, regardless, we end up getting a nice little segment between Mandy and Ember in the ring. Ember gets to show off what she's really made of. Reminds the WWE Universe that, she really is a great competitor. Oh, I'm sorry. This wasn't a tag match. This was a singles match. Basically, it was a singles match. Ember Moon versus Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose actually did a pretty good job selling. Kind of one thing in her repertoire that she wasn't great at. Looks like she's making improvements. She's got a great look. Very great look. I think she could be a big star with some work. I'm sorry, it was a tag match. Ember Moon and Carmella were the tag team. Carmella really didn't do a whole lot. Neither did Sonya Deville. Really, the main focus on this was Ember Moon versus Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose ends up getting the win. And right after the match, Paige comes out with Asuka and Kairi Sane. Tells Mandy and Sonya that, she used to manage them. And now she's managing an even better team, and she stepped up. And then next week we're going to have a tag match between Asuka and Kairi Sane versus Mandy Rose and Sonya. With this said, I don't know what they're really doing here, because clearly Kairi and Asuka should be getting ready to fight the Iconics for the women's tag team title. But Mandy Rose's women's singles Money in the Bank ladder match. Why is this tag team having the fight each other? I understand that they have the Paige similarity in that it's her former team members, and they were in the faction together in Absolution that lasted all of a minute because of Paige's injury, unfortunately. But if you're going to push Mandy to be in this match at the Money in the Bank ladder match, why is she having a tag team match, the go-home show before the actual pay-per-view? I mean, especially since these Kairi and Asuka aren't in the match. But I don't know. Again, wild card, I guess. Wild card. Now we get to the backstage interview between Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy announced that Jeff had a successful surgery and that they'll be back better than ever. And joining him is R-Truth. And we get a nice little segment here between Hardy and R-Truth. In the middle of it, the interviewer just leaves. And lo and behold, it's Lars Sullivan standing behind them. Lars throws Matt Hardy through the doorway into another room and hits a sit-down running power bomb on Truth through the table. The crowd was real excited to see Truth and Hardy dead as soon as Lars appeared on screen. He's just not over. The crowd doesn't like him. I don't like him. No one likes him. Again, repackage him, send him back on the NXT. He was gone for 9 months. They should have just scratched Lars Sullivan by the name, changed up his look, changed up his attire, and he could have been brought back as someone that no one really knew or remembered, and I think he would have been a lot better. But they're definitely trying to push him as this big monster heel. We get another Aleister Black dark vignette backstage. I like this. I really do like this. He's not showing us in the ring. He's showing us that third dimension that I spoke about before. Another great vignette. The guy is fun to listen to. He has this aura about him. Charisma, as some people call it. He's dark. He's really speaking to those outsiders. He's speaking to the fans that may not be socially accepted. And I think that's a good move by WWE. You have such over-the-top gimmicks that it's nice to see someone that has a darker gimmick that's not just Bray. Because Bray's gimmick is dark, but in a horror sense. Aleister Black is in a realistic sense. After that, we get the main event. AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn versus Kofi Kingston. And what a match. Kofi Kingston now has put on 2 great matches back-to-back. Unbelievable. Zayn hits a beautiful tornado DDT to Styles. Poor placement, however, leads to a pin. The ref does a good job of pointing out that AJ's arm was underneath the rope. Again, poor placement. Also, Kofi was right next to him, breaks it up. We end up seeing Kofi take 3 blue tornado bombs, kicks out each time, ends up hitting I believe a Trouble in Paradise, gets the win. Great match. Afterwards, at one point in the match, Xavier Woods, of course, is by ringside cheering Kofi. Kevin Owens comes out, attacks Xavier Woods, tries to distract Kofi, helps his friend Sami Zayn, but ultimately doesn't. Sami doesn't get the win. SmackDown Live ends with Kofi holding the title. It was a really, really good match. Probably one of the best matches. Definitely the best match of the week. For main roster, at least. Again, if you're not going to watch this week, take the time and try to find some highlights from the Kofi matches, because he really is a great champion, and I think he's doing great work. I don't really have a lot of emails from you guys. I'm kind of tired. It's been a long week so far. But let me know what you guys think. Any questions you guys have, if you like what we're doing, if you want to see something different. Again, like and subscribe to here. Check out our website at NOONEGETSOVER.com. I have the open thread now. You guys can comment. Let me know if you guys want to talk about something. If you want to get your voice out somewhere, have other people with like minds really look forward to or really interact with you, go ahead and check us out on there. Again, this is all for you guys, the No One Gets Over universe. And remember, as always, no free plugs. And as always, no one gets over.